Bomber Fox at your service. This video is going to be about a very depressing subject, sad to say, the Charlottesville white nationalist rally. But I'm going to be responding to a few things that Sargon of Akkad made in his last This Week in Stupid, because I think he really dropped the ball on this one. I'm going to be cutting up the video, but I'm going to try and include the full context of each point I'm responding to, but I'll leave a link to the video in the description so you can check out the video for yourself.
Hello everyone, welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 13th of August 2017. Before I start, I did an interview with Mythicist Milwaukee's podcast, in which I turned up after a few beers, I'm not going to lie, and rambled a lot, and we had a few Skype technical difficulties where I couldn't hear them at points. I re-listened to this podcast that I was on, and I didn't even hear them interrupting me. It wasn't me just rambling, I swear, but it was quite rambling. But I will be speaking at a panel with a chap called, I think it was Tom Smith, who is more, I guess, more towards the regressive left than I am. And I'll be discussing many of these issues with him live at the Mythicist conference in Milwaukee at the end of September. So I'll leave a link in the description to my podcast appearance. And if you want to come down and give me some support, then I'd love that. And you know what, I was really thinking, I want a label for myself that isn't a skeptic. I'm tired with the label skeptic. I don't really care about the label skeptic. It's just a placeholder, because no one knows what to call themselves. I mean, I'm a liberal. I am a liberal activist. That is what I am. I'm not a journalist. I'm a podcaster. I'm a vlogger. I'm a liberal activist. So what, do we just take the term alt-liberal or something? We're not like them, but we are still liberals. We've got like a set of beliefs that we understand and we want to put forward, and they're not their beliefs. I don't know. It's just something to think about. And one of the reasons that I want a label is because I'm tired of being called alt-right. I'm not alt-right, and I never will be alt-right, because they believe fundamentally a different set of propositions than I do, and I simply don't agree with them. And the reason this is something that's coming up is because of the Unite the Right March. As you can see from Richard Spencer's tweet here, it happened on August the 12th at 2017 in Lee Park, and there was a preemptive night march that we'll talk about in a minute. So this Unite the Right, I don't know who half of these people are. I know who Richard Spencer is, obviously.
Let's see. White supremacists, neo-Nazis, alt-righters, KKK, probably Christian dominionists, and maybe a Southern Heritage group. You know, it's kind of hard to differentiate the alt-right from the KKK when Richard Spencer really schmoozes with David Duke. And oh yeah, a crowd of barking dogs. Sorry, couldn't resist.
And I believe that Mike Enoch is actually Mike Pinovich, a guy who hosts a podcast, who was revealed was married to a Jewish SJW. Not a problem for me, but it was a problem for the alt-right. I believe he divorced her in the end as well. I don't know who Jason Kessler is. I know who Baked Alaska is. I did a podcast with him. I'm vaguely aware of who Augustus Invictus is, but I'm not sure. I don't know who Christopher Cantwell is. Matt Heimbach, Johnny Monoxide, Pax Dickinson, is that? I don't really know, and Dr. Mike Hill, again, I don't know. But anyway, they decided they were going to hold a march in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm afraid I don't really know, and it doesn't seem to be very important to anyone why this is taking place. All that matters is that it's happening and it needs to be stopped. So the media coverage in general has not been generous, but you can hardly blame them, given how this does appear to be something resembling a fascist rally.
Well, considering there were plenty of those kinds of people in the rally, I'm not very surprised. It's pretty accurate.
And while I don't agree with these people, I do support their right to rally. If they want to do this, then they have every right to do this, and they don't deserve to be shut down for merely holding a rally. Whether you want to take their political opinions seriously...
Normally I would agree with you, but these guys were shouting, "This is our town now." Those are the words of an invading force.
...or not is something different, but we'll get into all of this later. This does not have to be happening, but again, we'll get into that later. So, hundreds of white supremacists carrying burning torches and chanting Nazi-era slogans rallied in Virginia on Friday night before violently clashing with counter-protesters. The brawl at the University of Virginia came at the head of a much larger rally planned for Saturday, when thousands are expected for what monitors describe as the largest hate gathering of its kind in decades in the US. The alt-right demonstrators gathered late on Friday and chanted "Blood and Soil, One People, One Nation, End Immigration," as they carried burning torches through university campus. Let's have a quick look at this. Well, I wonder why they're doing that. So the mostly male crowd marched through the empty campus on Charlottesville and rallied around a statue of Thomas Jefferson, who designed the university's grounds. They clashed with a small group of counter-protesters who had linked arms around the statue. Several people...
What is interesting about this is they were given a permit for Emancipation Park, where the Robert E. Lee statue was. So I'd have to wonder why they were rallying around the statue of Thomas Jefferson, which is on Emmett Street, quite a bit of ways from Emancipation Park, and even McIntyre Park, where the city wanted to relocate them. So it doesn't really appear that they stayed in the area they were permitted, since when they arrived at the Jefferson statue, that's when the violence took place. So it's anyone's guess if this would have happened if they had not gone to Jefferson's statue.
Were injured as punches were exchanged and pepper spray was fired. Mike Siner, the mayor of Charlottesville, called the White Nationalist March a cowardly parade of hatred, bigotry, racism and intolerance marched down the lawns of the architect of our Bill of Rights. Larry Sabato, a professor at the university, said it was the most nauseating thing I've ever seen in his 47 years of being associated with the university. Well, if you're really all that sickened by this, why don't we look at the root causes of this and see if we can't prevent this happening in future? Because it turns out your actions have effects. But I'm sure you knew that, Professor Sabato. So why don't we actually address the root cause? So it looked like there were about 1,000 people with tiki torches, and they were expecting 2,000 to 6,000 demonstrators on the Saturday. Let's have a look at the tiki torches.
Look at this shit! Look at this shit! This is beautiful! Holy shit! Woo! You will not replace us! People coming down the stairs. You will not replace us! You will not replace us! Hail victory! You will not replace us!
Is this what you wanted? Is it? The powers that be? Is this what you wanted because this is what you've got? The demonstrators accused local governments of trying to erase history by removing the statues and often chant, "You will not replace us," as they rally around the statues. Well, in response to this, the mayor in Kentucky City has called for the removal of Confederate statues in light of the Charlottesville violence. I'm not sure that's wise, because that just verifies what they're saying. What you want to do is make these people not credible, and by doing exactly what they're accusing you of doing, I hate to tell you this, but you make them credible. That is a true thing they have just said, because you have reacted to make it.
I don't disagree, although what they were planning to do was simply to move it. And from the sounds of it, these windows make it sound like they were just gonna remove it and destroy it.
And then you've got things like this. The American tribe has spoken, take your hate-filled tiki torches and leave the island. Well, where do you expect them to go, Steve? I mean, they're American citizens. They're voters. They're concerned activists. I hate to say this, Steve, but they don't have anywhere to go. And I'm not even in support of them, but there's no getting around some certain solid facts. These people do not exist in a vacuum. And it's people like you who have made people like this exist.
Sargon, you know, this is the same thing that these people at the Unite the Right rally are telling other citizens to do. I mean, for fuck's sakes, they probably do the same to you and your family after they've destroyed your country. I mean, they hate Enlightenment values, they hate what you would term Western civilization, And they really have a scorched earth policy.
To violence with various protests and clashes and fighting in the streets. Police? Nowhere to be seen. Where are they? What's going on? Where are the cops here? Why aren't the cops breaking this up? Why are they just letting them fight? Why is this allowed to continue unabated as if this is just normality now? Get out there with your truncheons. I want to see some police violence, please. I would like you to beat the hell out of both of these sides, so next time they think, oh, you know what, we're going to go rally. Oh, we're going to go counter-rally. They'll think, I might go unarmed. I might not go with a stick. I might not go with a shield. I might not go and cause violence at all, because the police will beat the shit out of me. Because that is ultimately what we want the police to do in this situation. Restore order, for the love of God.
Keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are defending themselves, so police coming in and beating everyone up might not be the best thing to do.
I assume these chaps are the Oath Keepers, who have turned up in body armour and with assault rifles. If you don't think there are issues that need to be addressed here, then you're living in this. You've got your head in the sand. You're living in a delusional world where you honestly believe that these people, not just these people, but the alt-right as well, don't deserve to have their problems and their concerns considered. And I'm sorry, but they do. They do deserve to have their problems considered, and you telling them to shut up and go away without trying to address what they're saying or rebut their points or anything like that is just creating more of them. It's making their movement grow because it makes you look weak and it makes you look like you've got something to hide. And apparently Christopher Cantwell got pepper sprayed. There they are fighting with the fascists, and there's more people getting chemicaled in the face in some way. And then finally, a quarter mile away, a large contingent of riot police are headed towards the main conflict. Good. Why weren't they there from the start? You know by this point what's going to happen when the two groups finally meet. If you're not already there, you know they're going to fight, you know there's going to be injuries. That's irresponsible, do you not think? Apparently, the alt-right and white nationalist side vastly outnumbered the Antifa side, which doesn't really surprise me. But let's hear from one of the activists.
Where the fuck are the rest of you? Where the fuck are the rest of you? Where the fuck are the rest of you to defend against this? This is 20 people. This is 20 people standing against what is coming. Where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you? When fascism came back, 40 people stood against hundreds. Where are you?
You know, maybe, just maybe, the reason why he's freaking out is he knows what will happen when a bunch of them take power. That there's a good chance that he will be slaughtered. Because in the Unite the Right rally, there are factions there that are seriously malicious. There's a lot of people today that are so ungrateful and ignorant of history that they're willing to spit on their parents' and their grandparents' sacrifice to save them from the most horrific ideologies of the 20th century. I'm not sure what your grandparents did during World War II, because I haven't seen a video where you go over it, but my grandfather was stationed at Grafton Underwood. He was a B-17 pilot who flew missions over Germany during World War II. And I think all these people that are trying to bring back what he and many other people fought against would not only be a spit on their memory, but it would be a spit on this country's legacy and the legacy of your own country.
Right, I'm just going to stop you there. When fascism came back, that's an interesting thing to say. Very interesting thing to say. Do you know who's creating the fascists? You. This guy. All of you. You are making fascists. You are setting the dichotomy. But again, we'll get into this in a little bit. So apparently because of Unite the Right rally chaos, a state of emergency was declared for Charlottesville. Let's have a look. There you could see traditionalist worker party people fighting with the regressives and the Antifa people. And of course, you'd see many things like this going on social media. This is actually one of the less retweeted ones, the ones with hundreds of thousands of retweets, but given how I don't have Twitter, it makes it rather difficult to find these things. But yeah, this guy has an Adolf Hitler quote on his shirt, and there are a couple of other people with Nazi flags and whatnot. Yeah, it looks like it actually is. That this is the fascists versus the communists. I mean, you weren't complaining when Jeremy Corbyn was marching and speaking at rallies where they had Stalin banners with Stalin quotes, were you? Oh no, you care now. You care that it's Nazis, but you don't care that it's communists. Do you know there is a hair's breadth of ideological difference there, really? Compared to, like, a typical sort of American classical liberal, which your country was founded in that vein, you have got such a gulf of difference between you and the fascists and communists. But for some reason, the communists get some sort of cover. Communism isn't treated like a similar evil to fascism, even though it...
Likely because in the United States, racial hatred has plagued our history longer and has had a greater influence on the United States than the Red Scare. I just don't think the communists have ever had as much power in the United States as the Klan did back when it was active. I don't know if you read up on the Klan, but they actually had a reign of terror that was actually sponsored by the United States government and the police.
It is, if not worse. It's so peculiar to me. But anyway, let's carry on. So apparently we have some numbers. Accurate these are. This is from their Facebook event, so it may be fairly accurate. 28% of them apparently Southern nationalists, 19% are white nationalists, 19% are alt-right. I'm not really sure what the difference is there, to be honest. 19% of the Proud Boys and alt-knights. These are Western chauvinists. These aren't racially focused people, but they are concerned about fighting Antifa. And 17% of the militia and oath keepers. These would be the constitutionalists, who, if I had to support anyone, it would probably be those chaps. But yeah, sort of like 3/4 of the people there I just despise on ideological grounds. I don't agree with the things they believe. But you're forcing these people together. You are pushing them into the same crowd, and you are facilitating this. You have to understand. But anyway, let's hear from Donald Trump. How did his speech on this go? Because obviously he had to say something. And it was actually really interesting what he did say.
At this point, if the alt-right was not already such a fucking despicable group, they've essentially aligned themselves with the Klan, so they might as well be one and the same now, if they weren't already.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. It's been going on for a long time in our country. Not Donald Trump, not Barack Obama. It's been going on for a long, long time. It has no place in America. What is vital now is a swift restoration of law and order and the protection of innocent lives. No citizen should ever fear for their safety and security in our society. And no child should ever be afraid to go outside and play or be with their parents and have a good time.
Okay, that's an interesting statement. That's a very interesting statement. The fact that he was willing to address the hatred and bigotry on many sides was actually really good. That's actually really fair, because the hate and bigotry is on many sides.
Now, it may be true considering the long run, but in this instance, no. The hatred was clearly from one side. I mean, if you watch the footage from the march with tiki torches, they were chanting threats that they were going to take over the town. As far as I'm concerned, the people that were countering the protests were defending their town from them.
And obviously that caused a fucking meltdown. Donald Trump under fire after failing to denounce Virginia white supremacists. Well, let's denounce the black supremacists, or the non-white supremacists, shall we? Let's denounce any kind of racial supremacy. I'm actually really with Donald Trump here. No, he doesn't have to just condemn the white supremacists. He can also condemn the anti-white supremacists, the people who are literally against the existence of the white race, or at least a white majority in America, which you think, well, that's normal. America was a white majority country, and it's people who are obsessed with mass immigration from the third world who are turning it into a non-white majority country, and that is something that's really happening. The numbers are academic at this point. This is not a controversial thing to say. In something like 50 years or something like that, or probably not even that long given the rate of mass immigration, which in America is like 1 million people a year, it's going to be a non-majority white country. And there are people who are thrilled with this. You can see written on this here, "Die whites die." A bit strange. Is that not hate? Is that not like, well, non-white supremacy? I mean, that's anti-white people, isn't it? I mean, what? How else?
Yes, indeed, that was really not helping. It was a fucking stupid thing to do.
Could you describe that? How could you describe that without describing that as a hateful statement? It's nothing but a hateful statement. And you want to pretend it's not happening, but it is happening. I mean, look at Sally Brown when she was at the DNC, the DNC forum, when they were choosing a DNC leader, the candidates. This is a candidate for leadership. She's given a platform. Listen to this.
My job is to listen and be a voice. And my job is to shut other white people down when they want to interrupt. My job is to shut other white people down when they want to say, oh no, I'm not prejudiced. I'm a Democrat. I'm accepting. My job is to make sure that they get that they have privilege. And until we shut our mouths and we listen to those people who don't, and we lift our people up so that we all have equity in this country, so that we are all fighting alongside each other, so that we are all on the same page, and we clearly get where we're going.
Does that seem reasonable to you? Oh, you're a white person? Shh, Sally, why are you talking by your own rules? Why are you the assigned white person to stand up and tell other white people to be quiet? White people need to just shush, and other people need to be quiet, needs to be louder. They need to be heard. On what grounds? Oh, well, these people are white. I'm sorry, I find that totally unacceptable. And I think many other people do as well, who aren't part of the alt-right. And I think these people can see why the alt-right have formed. I mean, look at this debate between Ann Coulter and Cenk Uygur, right? Cenk is reading about Ann Coulter's tweets about the inevitable upcoming white minority in the United States. Listen to the reaction.
All right, there's so much to say, but I just going to give you one more Ann Coulter quote here, and then we'll take another question. In 1960, whites were 90% of the country. The Census Bureau recently estimated that whites already account for less than 2/3 of the population and will be a minority by 2050. Other estimates put that day much sooner.
What are they applauding? If that isn't anti-white hatred, what the fuck are these people applauding? They seem like racial activists against white people. That's what they look like. To me, anyway. I mean, I don't know what they look like to the alt-right. I can only imagine it's the same. And I imagine there are many other people who think exactly the same. These people are cheering the fact that white people will become a minority in their country. I mean, that's a weird thing to cheer, don't you think? I mean, it looks like there is a specific ideological movement of people determined to see white people themselves a minority in their own country. And I think it comes from this historical victim narrative they've created for themselves as the eternal victim of white people, as if history is black and white, and it has always been white people doing bad things and non-white people having bad things done to them by white people, which I'm sure literally any historian you come to will say, well, obviously it's not really like that. But, I mean, that's irrelevant. That's absolutely irrelevant to these people. And the thing is, this just goes to the highest levels of the US government. I mean, listen to Joe Biden's opinion on this.
There's a second thing in that black box, an unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent for the first time in 2017, we'll be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
That's a source of our strength, is it, Joe? It's so bizarre that you're focused on that, but that you think that's a positive thing. I mean, do you not think that there can be people who could look at that and say, well, actually, I think that's a targeted effort to reduce the amount of white people? You know, this is a relatively neutral, just meme Twitter account. And it's a really good account as well. But just a few reasons why Charlottesville happened. White people are going to go extinct. I can't wait for white people to finally die out and go extinct. Can white people please go extinct? Sorry, Anna, do you even know how white you look? I hope white people go extinct. I mean, do you not think that there are people seeing this and thinking, well, okay, there is a coordinated attack on white people? Because it looks like it. It looks like there are activists against white people, because I think there are. I think that we've got to the point where we have to understand and we have to address these people attacking white people. I don't think that it can't carry on. I mean, listen to what these demonstrators are chanting. What are you going to tell them? They're not anti-white. You're going to tell them that the people cheering for the white majority and the people saying, I hope white people go extinct, are you going to tell them that they're not anti-white? Because, I mean, I think that would make you a liar, wouldn't it? I mean, you have to understand how ridiculous that would be. You will not replace us. They are concerned with the mass immigration and the fact, the demographic shifts that are happening in America that seem to be, I don't know, very favourably undertaken by the Democrat Party. They seem to be part of some plan. They seem to be part of their political momentum and activism is to do this, but it's never addressed.
And that's probably going to be the hill the Democratic Party is going to die on. Because all they're doing is fucking egging this on. That's why there's gotta be a newer type of opposition to this. Considering practically the last decade we've experienced a complete revolt against reason. Despite so much effort to debunk conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, and religious claims, we're still experience a revolt against reason. I feel like you're going way too light on these people who are seriously deluded into thinking they can get people to turn on others that they have called friends for years, and if you don't give in to their peaceful ethnic cleansing, they will grab you out of your house and throw you out. Now, the average run-of-the-mill poltard might not want to do all that to you, but their leaders, they definitely do. They seriously have a Jacobin attitude of tearing it all down and rebuilding it exactly in their image. Anyway, I hope you all like this. If you do, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just in addition, it's been confirmed that there have been 3 deaths in this Unite the Right rally. Heather D. Heyer, she was murdered by a crazed neo-Nazi. Lieutenant H.J. Cullen and Burke M.M. Bates both died in a helicopter crash, which seems to have been an accident. If you know the families of the people who died that day, please send some kind words to them.